Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a tribal council that went completely off the rails. I mean, it started with what looked like a super simple, straightforward plan, and it just exploded into total chaos, all because one player decided to make a massive, desperate gamble. So this one line right here from Ina, it really says it all. You can't fail 3 times. On the one hand, you can feel the desperation, right? The Minority Alliance had already struck out twice, and they were putting literally everything on the line for this one vote. But man, was it also a little bit of foreshadowing for just how spectacularly things were about to go wrong? Okay, so let's set the stage. How did we even get to this point? Well, our story really kicks off right after a super tense tribal council. The tribe is completely fractured, split right down the middle into 2 very clear groups. You've got the Pentagon Alliance, who are totally in charge, and then you have the 4 people in the minority, who are basically just fighting to survive another day. And here's the breakdown. I mean, look at these numbers. The power dynamic is just crystal clear. You've got the 5 strong Pentagon Alliance on one side. They are calling all the shots. And on the other side, a totally desperate group of 4, Vova, Ina, Gal, and Mariah. And let's be real, they got absolutely smoked at the last vote. You know, this comment from Lotem really tells you everything about how the majority saw the other side. Cockroaches know how to survive. They didn't see them as players. They saw them as pests that just needed to be stamped out. But what they had no idea about was that one of those so-called cockroaches was already getting ready for war, and he was not about to get squashed. And Vova, man, he moved fast. Like incredibly fast. He didn't just go out and get himself a regular old immunity idol. No. He completely changed the game. He finds this secret mold and crafts this totally new, totally powerful advantage. It was this one wild card that the majority had absolutely no way of planning for. And yeah, this is what set the whole chaotic mess in motion. So with the battle lines drawn, you just knew this next immunity challenge was gonna be huge. For the minority, it was do or die. I mean, they had to win this thing if they wanted any chance at all to flip the script. But that hope, yeah, it didn't last long. The Majority Alliance just got even stronger. Gabriel, one of their key guys, goes out and wins his first ever individual immunity. So now he's safe. This win basically cemented the majority's power and left the minority with, well, pretty much no good options. Okay, so with Gabriel totally safe, the Pentagon Alliance now had a laser focus on one person. The minority, they tried. They tried to find any little crack in that 5-person wall, but honestly, it was like throwing pebbles at a castle. And their plan was just brutally simple and efficient. Everybody votes for Vova. That's it. No arguments. No one even thought about flipping. Anytime someone from the minority tried to talk to them, they just report back to the group. They were a completely united front, all locked in on taking out their #1 target. And yeah, this really shows you how disciplined they were. I mean, the second a minority player tried to pull one of them aside for a chat, that info went straight back to the entire group. It's that kind of communication that makes a majority alliance look totally unbeatable. But, it's also a really tricky game to play, because it means you have to trust everyone in your group completely. But even with all that strength, you could feel the paranoia starting to set in. Just listen to this from Noam. It's so revealing. He knows they're strong right now, but he's also smart enough to know that in this game, the people protecting you today are the same people who are going to try and take you out tomorrow. The alliance wasn't breaking, not yet, but you could definitely feel some tiny crack starting to form. So going into tribal council, it looked like a done deal. Vote Vova out, easy peasy. But what they didn't know was that Vova had an ace up his sleeve, a secret that was about to turn the entire game on its head and lead to one of the wildest votes we've seen all season. So this is the crazy advantage that Vova made, immunity without a vote. And it's a real double-edged sword, On the one hand, he gets to be completely safe at tribal council, can't be voted for. But here's the massive catch. He has to actually leave council, which means he doesn't get a vote. And that leaves his allies, who are already in the minority, down yet another number. It's a huge price to pay. And that is precisely what he does. Vova gets up, plays his advantage, and just walks out of tribal council. Just like that, in a split second, the Pentagon's perfect, simple, foolproof plan, gone. Up in smoke, their target has vanished, and now they have to come up with a plan B right then and there. This one move just unleashed total pandemonium. You've got the majority scrambling, whispering to each other, trying to figure out who to vote for now. And then you've got the minority, who are now trying to guess who the majority is whispering about. the whole thing just turned into this incredibly high-stakes guessing game right there on the spot. And in the middle of all that chaos, you gotta give the Pentagon credit. They were able to pivot, and fast. Through a bunch of whispers and side-eyes, they all managed to get on the same page. The new plan? All 5 of their votes are now going to Mariah. Okay, but at the same time, there's another drama playing out. Before Vova left, he slipped his regular immunity idol to Ina and Gal. So now they have this idol, but they're facing this impossible decision. Who do they play it on? Who's the new target? Is it Gal? Is it Ina? Is it Mariah? They have to guess right. Oh man, this image is basically every single person watching this at home. You can just feel the tension. You know they're second-guessing themselves. After this frantic, whispered back and forth, they finally make a call. And then, Gal stands up. He plays the idol on himself. He's betting that the majority saw him as the next biggest threat and decided to make him the target. It's a total gamble, basically a 1 in 3 shot to keep his alliance alive. So the votes are in, the idol has been played, and now we get to the moment of truth. After all that chaos, all the whispering, all the gambles, did the minority guess right? And the answer was no. They guessed wrong. The idol was played on the wrong person. You can see the minority put their 3 votes on Anna, but it wasn't enough. The Pentagon's 5 votes held strong, and they all went on their new target. And just like that, Mariah is voted out. Her game is over. And it's really a direct result of that whole chain reaction, right? Vova's advantage, the majority's super fast pivot, and in the end, a heartbreakingly wrong guess on where to play that idol. And her closest ally, Gal, sends her off with this really touching, heartfelt little limerick. It's just a sad way to end what was honestly one of the most dramatic and chaotic episodes of the whole game. So on the surface, this vote looks like a huge win for the Pentagon, right? It cemented their power. But it leaves us with this massive question moving forward. Sure, they won this battle, but in doing so, did they just create an even bigger problem for themselves down the road? Because now you have Ina and Gal, 2 players who are totally on their own and have absolutely nothing to lose. And that makes them very, very dangerous. Something to think about for sure. Okay, so our story really kicks off in the immediate aftermath of a failed power play. The Minority Alliance, they tried to swing the game, and they failed, big time. This is them at their absolute lowest point. So you've got this trio, Gal, Ina, and Vova. And they are just on the ropes. I mean, the numbers are completely stacked against them, 5-3. They're still reeling from that badly misplayed idol that sent their ally Mariah home, and you can just tell their morale is completely, totally shot. The question hanging over their camp is pretty simple. How do you possibly come back from this? Well, they come up with this desperate 2-part Hail Mary of a plan. First, Gal manages to secure a little more firepower by getting another immunity idol, which is a huge piece of insurance. And second, Vova gets the tough job of trying to crack the majority. He's going to work on Anna, who they think might be a potential weak link. Really, this is their only shot. Now, let's switch gears and look at the Majority Alliance. On the surface, yeah, they're a solid, unified block of 5. But underneath all that, deep cracks are starting to show, and it's creating the exact kind of chaos the minority is hoping to exploit. And this quote, wow, this quote right here reveals the biggest crack of them all. That's Yehuda, and he's talking about his closest ally in the game, Gabriel. And you can hear it in his voice. This isn't just about strategy. This is a deep, personal sense of betrayal that has completely shaken Yehuda's trust in his own alliance. So, what on earth did Gabriel do to cause this? This is where it just gets ice cold. Gabriel confided in Yehuda, telling him these really personal stories about his struggles with depression and his partner leaving him. Now, Yehuda, being a social worker, he really invested hours of emotional support. And then, Gabriel admits it was all a lie, a strategic test to test boundaries. For Yehuda, this just crossed a major line. It went from gameplay to a deep violation of trust, and it made the Majority Alliance incredibly fragile and really in need of a clean, unified vote to prove they were still strong.
So this is where Vova sees his opening. He goes to Anna and he confides in her, telling her that the idol they misplayed last time was secretly his, kind of testing the waters to see if she's willing to work with him. And she responds perfectly. She promises to protect him, tells him he can trust her, the whole 9 yards.
15 minutes. That's all it took.
Just 15 minutes later, she immediately runs to Gabriel and spills every single thing Vova just told her in confidence. You see, this isn't a passive betrayal, it's an active one. Anna is not a potential flipper. No way. She is a full-on double agent, gathering intel and feeding it right back to her alliance.
Okay, so with all of this deception and distrust just simmering in the background, the game shifts to the immunity challenge. And the outcome here is just massive. Whoever wins this is safe, they're untouchable, and they will hold all the power heading into what is shaping up to be one of the most important votes of the season. And in a crucial twist, the one person at the absolute center of all these lies, Anna, she wins immunity. She's now completely safe, which solidifies her power and makes her the undisputed kingmaker for the upcoming vote. But you have to see how close this was. Vova, the minority's biggest hope, came in second place, just a few points behind her. This is such a critical detail. I mean, if just one or two little things in this challenge had gone differently, Vova would be the one wearing that necklace, and this entire story would have a completely different ending. So with immunity around her neck, Anna is holding all the cards. And in those final hours before the vote, she uses her power not just to stay safe, but to set the absolute perfect trap for Vova and his allies. So from the Minority Alliance's perspective, the logic is pretty simple. The majority is going to target Vova. He's the logical choice, right? He's the biggest threat. So their entire plan now hinges on getting the real target's name from their supposed inside woman, Anna. If she tells them the truth, they can play their idol correctly and maybe, just maybe, flip the entire game. Everything rests on her word. And here it is. This is the exact moment the plan is born. Anna reports back to Gabriel that Vova is kind of hinting he has an advantage. So, what's their response? Feed him a fake target. They choose Gal, and it's a smart choice because they correctly guess that Vova will believe it since it takes the heat off of himself. And here is the delivery. I mean, this is a masterclass in manipulation. Anna doesn't just say, hey, the target is Gal. No. She frames it like she's actively working for him, claiming she heroically shifted the vote away from him and onto Gal. She sells it perfectly, and Vova buys it, hook, line, and sinker. So this all brings us to Tribal Council. All the lies, all the secrets, all the strategies, they're all about to collide. The Minority Alliance has an idol, and they have what they believe is perfect information from their inside source. I mean, it all boils down to this single question. After getting burned not once, but twice before, can they really afford to trust an outsider one more time? Their entire game depends on the answer. And you know, this meme just perfectly captures what everybody watching at home was thinking. The text, it loosely translates to something like, watching them about to misplay an idol on the wrong person again. And it just sums up that feeling of, oh no, not again. This alliance had developed a bit of a reputation for falling for traps, and everyone watching could just feel what was about to happen. So they are moving forward with absolute 100% confidence, operating under the firm belief that all 5 of the majority's votes are going straight for Gal. And based on that tip, they make their fateful move. Anna stands up, full of confidence, says those now infamous words, third time's the charm, and plays the immunity idol on Gal. They have bet their entire game on Anna's word. And then the votes are read. The minority's 3 votes go to Gabriel, just like they planned. The host nullifies any votes for Gal. But then, the first vote for Anna is read, and then a second, and a third. The trap has sprung. The target was never, ever Gal. And just like that, Anna is voted out of the game, 5-3. And you have to appreciate the strategy here. Targeting Anna instead of the more obvious threat, Vova, was the majority's masterstroke. They correctly predicted the idol would be played to protect the bigger threat. And by doing that, they flushed the idol and removed a loyal number, all in one perfect betrayal. It was a devastating, just brutal outcome for the minority, and an absolute masterstroke of deception by Anna and the majority. And it really leaves us with a fundamental question about a game like this. In an environment where lies are literally currency, is the act of putting your faith in someone else the single greatest risk you can possibly take?